What's up, everybody? Thank y'all for listening to another episode of the Texas Barbecue Show. This is episode something. But I got to turn that computer down. We got Prairie Fresh Seaboard Food's going to be on today. David Ehart is going to be talking. Prairie Fresh is really hitting the competition world as of late, as far as my knowledge. Of course, Seaboard has been around, to my knowledge, for a couple of years now, and that's what I use in my catering business. So I wanted to get David on here, have him share with all of us what Prairie Fresh has to offer under the Seaboard name, or maybe they're both underneath another name. But regardless, we're going to learn, and let's see what he has to say.
Doing well.
You have a good weekend?
How are you doing? I did.
Nice. Well, you ready to get going, share the story?
Sure.
Awesome.
I am.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the Texas Barbecue Show with me. And so tell everybody listening who you are and what your position is with Prairie Fresh Seaboard.
Well, I'm David Ehart, and I am the Senior Director of Communications and Brand Marketing for Prairie Fresh and Seaboard Foods.
Awesome. Now, is it Seaboard and then everything falls underneath, or Seaboard and Prairie Fresh underneath another name? Can you kind of just
I'll kind of lay that out. So Prairie Fresh is our brand for our fresh pork products, and then Seaboard Foods is one of the producers of Prairie Fresh, as well as the company that does all the selling of Prairie Fresh to retailers, food service operators, distributors, as well as our international business, exporting a lot of pork to 30 plus countries. And then two, we actually sell to further processors. So those are taking fresh pork cuts and making sausage and hams and bacon products. So you'll hear it. And traditionally we had been, as Seaboard Foods, you actually see Seaboard Farms even on some of our boxes, because that's our international brand and that's how we started out. But we've been in an evolution in the last couple of years of really bringing the brand forward, because that's what consumers and customers are going to see in the store, is the Prairie Fresh brand, which is a product of Seaboard Foods.
Awesome. How long has Prairie Fresh been a label? A couple years now?
So it has so it's actually longer than that, but it's only been the last about 2.5 years that we've actually started to make the true conversion and really start pushing Prairie Fresh versus our corporate name. But actually Prairie Fresh has existed almost since Seaboard Foods got into the business in the mid-90s. It was a couple of years later that we actually then developed the Prairie Fresh name and brand, but it has only been in the last few years that we've really started to emphasize that brand and bring it as kind of our unifying element for all those that are producing Prairie Fresh product, because we actually have some other producers and owner groups that are involved in the process of our connected food system with us.
Awesome. And that was something I was about to tie into. Now, is everything with the name Prairie Fresh, does that mean it's fresh, never frozen, as far as the Prairie Fresh specific line? Is that what you are going for as far as that goes?
So not necessarily.
Okay.
So for us, that distinguishes basically more the traditional fresh cuts, but we do have frozen products, especially in food service. So a lot of ribs,
right,
in fact, are actually sold frozen. And actually, a lot of rib products, even in retail, are sold frozen, and more low than thaw them out or sell them frozen as well. But primarily, it starts as a fresh cut. So it's kind of not anything that's what we consider to be more like a processed meat, falls under Prairie Fresh. So that's going to be your, obviously your ribs, both back ribs, St. Louis ribs, spare ribs, your loin cuts, and your shoulder cuts, and even some fresh, uncured ham cuts that are actually sold a lot into food service.
Awesome. And you mentioned connected food system. Online, of course, it has the little spill on that connected food system. So basically all your farms or any of the pigs that are produced for Prairie Fresh are basically all under your guidelines, or are they all literally owned by Prairie Fresh, the farms?
So it's let's explain a little bit about our connected food system. So and how it's evolved over time. So from the very beginning in the early '90s, um, we determined that actually at that time we would have called it an integrated system. We call it connected food system now because it's evolved for us. But basically having that control all the way from the genetics through processing was going to help us get quality product. And it's all about quality and consistency. And one way to do that is by controlling the genetics of the animals, the feed that they're fed, their animal care practices that are there. And so that's how it started out. And we've evolved into a connected food system. And it has expanded a little bit because we have a partner company that helps us produce those pigs. There's actually a total of 6 what we would call pork producers, pig farming companies that are actually raising Prairie Fresh products for us, but then a few other contracted producers that are also following our guidelines. And that includes everything from genetics all the way to the feed to the animal care practices that are there. And then within that, then with our other partner companies, we have 3 fresh pork processing plants. So everything that you get from Prairie Fresh will have come through one of the farm systems that's raising pigs for Prairie Fresh products, and then would have been processed at one of those 3 processing plants. So the reason why we use the term connected food system, and when we say we own the farms, yes, one of the owners within the system owns the farms or is aligned with one of the owners that has a strong connection, because for us, it's very, very critical that we have that product quality and consistency, which we know those out in the barbecue world appreciate. We always are hearing about how consistent our ribs are, and that's not by accident for us. We're dealing with living beings, so there's obviously a little variation, but our goal is to make sure that that rib that you're cooking and every time looks the same, tastes the same. And that starts from the genetics to actually the feed programs that we're using and even some of the processing techniques that happen in the processing plant when we're harvesting the animals.
Nice. And so there's a lot of pork producers or pork brands out there that, and then it probably in all meats, everyone's wanting these, owned farms. They want these guidelines for all these people to fall under. Now with everyone, going that same high quality route, what's something that really, makes y'all stand out? And you mentioned the consistency on, the racks of ribs and, as far as food service goes, and really the normal person at home should be worrying about consistency every time they, cook a rib each week, and they kind of want it the same because then that way their cooking techniques are the same. So would you say that's probably one of the things that kind of makes y'all stand out versus some of the other brands out there is just the genetics and that consistency?
Yeah, yes, it is. And it's definitely all connected to our connected food system. And so, we have a very closed system in the sense of who's producing the product for us, and then because we have that control all the way through the processing plants. So that's what makes us truly unique. We also, too, because of that connection, we can go back and tell you, what are the genetic lines within our products, as well as the feed ingredients they get, the animal health and practices given to those pigs, and to the care practices. And you definitely hit it on the nail when you mentioned about people wanting to know more and more about how and where their food is raised.
Yep,
and whether that be a competitive barbecue to a restaurant to the consumer that's buying at the meat counter. People are asking more and more questions about where their food comes from, and then want details about that. Absolutely. And the nice thing about Prairie Fresh is, we're not a niche supplier. We're about providing affordable food to people, but still giving them the quality that they deserve, but at an affordable price. And so there's nothing wrong with the niche markets. That's not the model that we use. We're large scale modern farm production, and we're proud of it. And with that comes affordable food that's consistent products, so that consumer, the restaurant operator, even the competitor will have that same experience each and every time they cook our products.
Awesome. Would you say that regardless Seaboard or Prairie Fresh, if someone, let's say food service side, I use a lot of St. Louis Seaboard. Now, would you still say there is still consistency and great? I mean, not to trying to knock down the difference. Is there a difference between Prairie Fresh and Seaboard as far as a consumer concern,
No,
or maybe
there's
food
not.
service concern.
Yeah, so I mean, there's specifications that'll make
Okay.
differences with it. So you might see some differences at a retail Prairie Fresh product or even an unbranded product. So we have a lot of customers that want to use their store brands, but at least the core parts of what we do are the same. So we
Okay.
never lose sight of the quality or the consistency part of it. Now there may be specifications, the way we trim the product that might elevate it slightly, especially you get into food service because we're very, very specific about our weight grades, which come in quarter-pound increments on the ribs, and the way the bone counts. They're even numbers for food service. You may not see that at a retail, although typically you will because there's really not that much difference with it, and it depends on the retail code that retailer is actually buying too.
Gotcha.
That will change that. But overall, the meat itself should be pretty much the same experience.
Awesome. What breed? And just like you said, people always are asking, who, what, when, where, why. Kind of how I'm setting up my podcast. What breed of pigs are y'all using? Because that's something I'm sure someone's wondering right now as they're listening to this.
Yeah, and we get asked that question quite often. So we actually are the market pigs that are producing our product is a commercial pig, and when I say that, that means it's not a purebred. So our sire lines on the male side are all Duroc or Duroc influenced boars, and Durocs, everyone, especially in the barbecue world, and if you're like a meat buyer, you typically will know, but maybe the average consumer doesn't recognize the name Duroc.
Right.
But they're known for their eating characteristics, the sweet meat, very much a meat quality. The reason why we use Duroc sire lines within the Prairie Fresh line.
Okay. Awesome.
On the female side, then we use a landrace it's actually a mixed or a landrace and a large white female. And so there's many reasons why that crossbred is used. Some of it has to do with the amount of pigs they'll produce, the mothering capabilities. Also, we look for structure and soundness of the sow so that she can physically handle birthing pigs multiple times. And just, because they actually will grow to be quite large. So you got to have one that has great bone structure. And so that comes from the two different breeds and that crossbred pig or female pig that we end up with. And so that's pretty much consistent through our entire connected food system, no matter what group you're talking to. There's going to be Duroc, purebreds are Duroc influenced. When I say that, they may have a little something else in them because a couple of producers do a few things different, but most of them are heavily, heavily Duroc influenced. And then you'll have that crossbred female that then their offspring is what produces our market pigs for us.
Okay, nice. I was looking on your website. I'm seeing Prairie Fresh Natural, Signature, and Cooking Bag. Are these different retail situations here?
Yeah, so they're all targeted towards a different type of consumer. And so Prairie Fresh Natural is the bulk of our product, and it is what it sounds like. It is a natural product that's minimally processed, contains no artificial ingredients. So there's no pump solution in it. It is the way that it falls off the carcass,
Nice.
and it is trimmed down. And that appeals to a huge consumer segment. And so that's what you're going to find, basically the full product line, especially in retail. So you're going to find your back ribs, your loins, bone-in loins, boneless loins, both tenderloins. You'll get into the shoulder butts, shoulder picnics, belly, which is a really growing trend.
Yes.
We're starting
belly
to see.
burn-ins is awesome.
Yeah, and then you'll have the spare ribs, the St. Louis ribs, and then a few of the ham cuts going to there will be labeled under Prairie Fresh.
Awesome.
So from there, then there's a certain segment of consumers that convenience and also kind of being unsure of what to do with their product when they get pork. That's probably the biggest challenge for the average consumer is they don't know exactly how to cook pork. So the Signature line is something that was developed 10 plus years ago. And we actually have a proprietary process where we actually infuse fat back into the product.
Nice.
Through a solution. So it's not a water enhanced. When people hear about like moisture enhanced or added solution product, it's not that. It's labeled like that, but there's actually emulsified pork trimmings that are injected back into the loin fillets, and we also have those in a few rib products. And then, especially in food service, pork chops. All of our pork chops are under the signature line, especially for institutional uses, because you can cook this product, and you don't need to cook it especially when we're talking like a loin or a chop or a tenderloin, to the perfect 145, which we recommend. If you're like a lot of average consumers out there, still a lot of belief that they need to cook their pork well above that when we're talking about the loin cuts. And because their grandmother told them, they don't really know why, but they heard that. Well, you can actually overcook this product, and it's still going to be good to eat. We don't recommend you do that, but that's part of it. And so,
there's a fail-safe.
And it's great. It's great for holding for food service operators, because pork chops realistically are a challenge for restaurants to serve, especially if they're doing like a banquet situation. So the bulk of that product, though, we even go one more step and make it a little bit easier for them, is actually we season a lot of that product. So it's a lot of tenderloins and loin fillets that are easy and convenient to cook. You can grill them, throw them in the oven, but you don't have to worry about finding that perfect combination of seasoning. So we have several different ethnic flavorings to more traditional ones, to the garlic herbs, to the teriyakis, but we even have peri. It's probably one of our more unusual ones. Our honey sriracha is a really popular flavor right now.
That sounds good.
Yeah. But we also then recognized many years ago that there was another segment out there and it really started on with ribs, is like they were just intimidated. I know a lot of your audience, obviously they're rib cooking experts, are learning how to be, at least from you and some of the tips you give out. But a lot of the times the average consumer wasn't really confident or they have a smoker or a grill or a way to cook them.
Yeah.
And so the cooking bag was actually developed to address that originally. And so it's a product. We have back ribs, full slabs they fall under the signature line. So they're actually injected with our proprietary process of the fat injection solution into them. And you actually cook those products in the bag in a 400-degree oven for 1 hour, and they'll be fall off the bone ready by that time.
Nice.
And it's great for those people live in the north in the wintertime that don't want to get out and can't get out to the grill.
Yeah.
And it's also great for those that just don't have the confidence, because a rib's an expensive proposition to buy. You spend $15, $16 or more. Sometimes they're 20, depending where prices or pork markets are at. It's a challenge, and the last thing they want to do is spend that much money and end up with something that's not that great to eat.
Right, for sure. That experience is what you are doing is making it a healthy solution that's easy with all all your lines.
Yeah, and then that product line is actually expanded the last probably 7-8 years ago. So we actually do our loin fillets and our tenderloins as well. They're all seasoned products, so it's easy. Because we've discovered through our research that there's actually consumers that don't like to actually touch raw meat or open up the package. They never have to touch the meat. They just throw it in the oven.
And then they'll touch it once it's cooked.
Right, yeah. That's fine. They're ready to open up the package, definitely.
That's funny.
Definitely.
So can you tell me on this is a little bit of something educational for myself, and then any of those maybe in food service. When you're talking about 2 1/4 down and then like 3 1/4 down, now obviously that's the weight of the rack, but that could determine how thick those bones are, right? Isn't there something to that correlation of those increments? Even though it's a heavier, it could be smaller. Is that right? Do you get what I'm talking about, or maybe is that something I'm just thinking of?
Yeah, and it depends on too, like the supplier. The biggest reason why there's variation in all of our food service, our rib products are 1/4 pound increments. So if I say 3 1/4 St. Louis style rib. That means the weight range will be anywhere from 3 to 3 1/4 pounds. That's the only variation. If not, if it's out of that, then
Got it.
it goes to the next weight category. But we also then, for each of those sizes, there's actually, especially in St. Louis and back ribs, a minimum width of those, and then there's a minimum bone count. So most of our food service products all have a 12 bone count.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that, because so that an operator can actually divide evenly if they don't want to serve a full rack.
Yep, for sure. I always thought there was 12.
Also, yeah, you can actually find sometimes 11 bones. And, obviously everyone wants straight bones, especially in the St. Louis. So
Right.
that's something I wait for. So there's ways that actually you can cut down. So, and some companies do that. So there's natural falls and then also saw cut ones. But usually most of the variation that you're going to see in the weight ranges from, especially when you get into the back ribs. So, the term baby backs, but what's happened in the industry is traditionally it's very hard now to find a true baby back because it's typically like 1 3/4 pounds. Our hog carcasses have gotten so much larger over the past 25 years. That's why you've seen rib sizes go up too. So a lot of it has to do with the size of the carcass. And you think about it, because as they get heavier, they stretch out their bone density. So that's really the biggest part of it. But to give you an example, I grew up on a pig farm in central Missouri. And I was in the 80s, growing up, late 70s, mostly the 80s, growing up there. And I showed pigs. And I can remember my grand champion gilt when I was about 12 years old was a big market hog, and she weighed 220 pounds. Today, our average weight, market weight is about 280, 285.
That's not bad.
So, yeah. So obviously the cuts are just larger today, and there's reasons why that's happened. First of all, the technology and the science of putting on weight and the genetics within our pigs have allowed that as well. And then there's also obviously the cost, the economies of scale. It costs the same to process a 200-pound pig as it does a 280-pound pig.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Oh. You get a whole lot more meat. So, but we're probably about the size as large as we can get in the industry now, because you can only have so large of a rack of ribs or the loin eye on a pork chop. Someone doesn't need a pork chop that's going to fill up their entire 12-inch plate. They might want it, but they don't need it.
Maybe soon we'll have dino pig ribs.
No.
That's a joke. Well, is there anything you got? Anything else that Prairie Fresh is coming out with that's something new for the industry, or just anything you're working on? Something special that you can share with the show, by chance at this time?
Well, not at this time, but you probably need to check back with me probably here in about 6 months, because we have some pretty exciting new products coming out that we'll be launching here in a couple of months, actually.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will be in touch for sure. Are y'all going to be sponsoring or doing anything with WFC this year?
We have not gotten that far down the path, but there's several other events this year that we're going to be involved in that are coming up before that we've committed to.
Okay.
But yeah, we were at through the National Barbecue League. Obviously, we were at World Food last year, and we actually have an event coming up with the National Barbecue League here in less than a month. So
awesome. And you have anything coming up in Texas by chance?
Let me think about this for a second. Not that I know of.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Our next big event is actually, it's Texas related. So we actually are the presenting sponsor of an event called the Big 12 Big Q that runs in conjunction with the Big 12 basketball tournament in Kansas City in March.
Okay.
And so that's what National Barbecue League is going to be helping us out with. And so we're out there sharing with basketball fans, hitting consumers, letting them know about barbecue,
nice.
Grilling, smoking. So it's a really fun event. It's actually, we're connected then to the kind of the overall experience. So we have literally thousands and thousands of basketball fans that are coming through, and they'll be getting some barbecue samples and playing some games and winning prizes. So it's always a good time if the weather cooperates.
Yeah, right.
A little bit questionable.
That
Kansas
sounds fun.
City in March. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So if your listeners are out there or they're coming to the tournament, we'll be out there. So stop by and say hi.
There you go, and go ahead and give all the plugs. Where can folks find Prairie Fresh? Where can they see it on Facebook? Lay out all your plugs for us, David.
Sure. So we would like to see Prairie Fresh in more places than it is, especially in Texas where you're at.
Right.
A couple of your retailers are actually customers, but they have private label more so than branded products. But you will find, kind of give you some of the big regional ones that we have. In the Southeast, you'll find our products at public stores. Food Giant is also another big retailer of ours. Moving kind of across the country to the other side, go up into the Northwest, you're going to find some of our products at the Safeway stores. Also Safeway in Denver. We have several smaller regional ones too. So like here in Kansas City, Hen House and some of the Price Choppers actually carry our products as well. So we're kind of all across the United States too, with a pretty strong presence through the Southeast and then the Northeast, the Northwest, and Northeast too.
The podcast is being ambushed by children right now.
Yeah. That's what always makes it interesting.
Have you seen that one? It was a guy on CNN or something like that. It was a big head guy.
He's a scientist, yeah. So he's doing something really serious.
Yes. No, that's funny. Hey, boys. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, David. All right, we're back. Sorry. All right, go ahead.
That's okay. So yeah, we have products all across the country, and then too, like for your those that are competing, especially with our KCBS teams, we're at all the restaurant depots. So, and every KCBS member actually has a Restaurant Depot membership card, so that is easy, convenient, and they'll carry our butts and ribs for competition typically, and if they don't, you can ask them and they can get it for you.
Awesome, good to know.
So that gives us nationwide coverage there. And then a lot of the Sam's Clubs actually carry our product. And then to the other big club stores which is more kind of the eastern part of the U.S. BJ's Wholesale is also a big customer of ours, and I know a lot of competition teams actually go and get their product from there. They're out to the East Coast and the Northeast.
Got it. And is it prairiefresh.com or would it be prairiefresh.seaboardfoods.com? Or we do have
so yeah, if you go to our website, you're probably going to see the Seaboard Foods, but if you do prairiefresh.com, it'll direct you correctly there. And
awesome.
We actually have a major website update that's coming that's going to get rid of those extra letters out of our web address. So yes, our website's prairiefresh.com, and then you can also find us on Instagram at prairiefresh and on Facebook at prairiefresh as well. And there we'll, especially gearing up going into the spring season. So a lot of our brand ambassadors will be sharing cooking and smoking tips on those channels. And that's one of the things we're going to do is not only just, obviously like for people to use Prairie Fresh, but we also want to provide them with a little extra value.
Yep, for sure.
So they can, it's a solution so they know how to use the product and have a great experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. You hit it. The experience. You want to give someone that full experience, even with them not even being inside your restaurant type deal. You're just giving them every tool possible to,
Yeah, and that's some of the things that we think is so important, too, is that we're really trying to make sure that obviously the brand name is important to us, but really connecting people to food beyond the knowing where it came from and how it's raised. And we want to be completely transparent in that, so you have really confidence and you feel good about using Prairie Fresh products. But we also want people to have that experience that only comes from like getting the grill out, inviting some friends over, having your family over. It's all about experience. And if you think about it, probably a lot of people's most memorable experiences have food involved with it. And there's no better way to connect people than to have them together during barbecue.
I couldn't agree more.
It's really the experience that makes it, and then the great food on top of it just really tops it off.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you, David, being on and sharing some of the stuff about Prairie Fresh, and I hope everybody gains some knowledge on it and visit your webpage and your Instagram and Facebook and see what y'all do next.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, if anyone ever has any questions, just reach out to us. We'll be glad to get back to you, just either through our social channels or our website.
Awesome.
We've got someone that's on top of that all the time.
Thanks, man. Well, I'm gonna be doing some cooks here soon with some Seaboard stuff for socials, so I'll be sure to tag y'all and hopefully see you at WFC this year.
I will actually be there. I don't know if Prairie Fresh will be, but I will be.
You'll be there.
So I'm a competitor. So, and I qualified, not in barbecue.
Dessert, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, cool, man. Awesome. Have a good week. Thanks for talking with us.
Okay, you too.
See you, man.
Thanks,
all right, bye.